The 2025 season didn't go the way Caitlin Clark planned, but somehow she still owned it. In just a handful of games, she delivered some of the most iconic moments in WNBA history, the kind that'll top highlight reels for years to come. But it wasn't just the logo threes. It was everything around them. The drama, the resilience, the off-court moves that turned her from a women's basketball phenom into a full-blown sports icon. And yeah, it drove the haters absolutely insane. Here are Caitlin Clark's top 10 moments of 2025. As we go, drop your favorite moment in the comments. January 18th, the Swift game. Some will say this isn't a top 10 moment, but here's why it is. This is what set the tone. After her rookie season, this was the longest stretch fans had gone without Caitlin Clark on the court. Some said the Caitlin Clark effect was fading, but then came the sight no one expected. Caitlin Clark, a lifelong Chiefs fan, watching the game alongside the biggest pop star on the planet, Taylor Swift. And it wasn't just a handshake or a quick photo op. They hung out for hours, talking, laughing, connecting. Social media exploded. For an entire week, it was all anyone could talk about. And ironically, it happened the exact week Unrivaled launched, the new player-run league that Caitlin turned down. Guess which story dominated the headlines? Caitlin Clark, without even touching a basketball, generated more buzz just by watching a football game. It was a tone setter for everything that followed, and proof that Clarkomania wasn't slowing down. It was only getting louder. February 2nd, Hawkeye history. Before a sold-out crowd of 15,000 at Carver Hawkeye Arena, Iowa retired Caitlin Clark's number 22 jersey. Now, she's not the first Hawkeye to have her number retired, but this moment had to make the list. It was the final stamp on arguably the most legendary college career ever. 2 national championship runs, iconic performances, and enough records shattered to fill a museum. It was a reminder of why 18.9 million people tuned in to her 2024 March Madness final, and why they still care where she shows up, even at a Chiefs game. Those 4 years weren't just special for Iowa, they transformed women's basketball, and they continue to fuel both the WNBA and the Hawkeye program to this day. And it wasn't just about looking back, this was a bridge to what came next.
Give it up for the Fever, we're playing a game right here, baby. Woo! We're coming to town. You better save up, because I bet it's going to be pretty expensive, but...
Caitlin didn't know just how right she was, because what was about to happen in that same arena would be the most iconic moment of her pro career to date. May 4th, the Brazilian long bomb. By the time we got to May, Clark fever was off the charts. Fans hadn't gone this long without Caitlin Clark basketball in years. So when word broke that the Fever would play a preseason exhibition at Carver Hawkeye Arena, the hype hit overdrive. Even though the opponent was Brazil, a team with players even lifelong women's basketball fans had never heard of, tickets sold out faster than a politician trying to get elected. It was the hottest ticket in Iowa, maybe in the entire country. Then ESPN made it official. They were nationally televising the game. I bet we can count on one finger how many times that's happened in WNBA history. In front of a packed house at Carver, Caitlin gave everyone their money's worth. She stopped behind her logo marker, let it fly, and the sports world lost it. It wasn't just a bucket. It was a statement. A reminder of why she's the face of women's basketball. She has the flair for the dramatic, she understands the moment, and she delivers. 1.3 million people tuned in to watch yet another signature moment from Caitlin Clark. And this was only the taste of what was coming next. May 17th, Skyfall. Game 1 against the Chicago Sky, Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. The matchup Kathy Engelbert loved so much, she scheduled it 5 times. Well, she didn't know it then, but that might have been the decision that ended up getting the Fever into the playoffs. Because this game, like all the matchups that would follow, was an absolute laugher. Caitlin Clark, in her first real game in over half a year, delivered the perfect opening statement. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 4 blocks, 2 steals, a triple-double masterpiece in her first game back. And the viewership numbers were unreal. 2.7 million viewers watched Caitlin's clinic on ABC, making it the most watched WNBA regular season game in 25 years. But this was also the moment it became clear the league hadn't learned a thing. After Angel Reese shoved a Fever player to grab a rebound, Caitlin fouled her hard on the next possession. Angel popped up ready to go after her, and honestly, that's fine. It's sports. People get heated. The problem wasn't on the court, it was off it. The backlash was instant. The Kate hate hit record levels. Fans accused Clark of rigging the triple-double just so Barstool's Dave Portnoy could win a bet. Then came the league's hate speech investigation, sparked by what many believe were Flight React's audio clips pumped through the arena speakers. Even the Sky's own coach said he found out about it when everyone else did. It got so bad there were even calls to move the All-Star game out of Indianapolis because it was supposedly unsafe for players. The worst things were being said about Fever players and fans online, but the league turned a blind eye. It was yet another slap in the face to the people actually growing the league. And the hits, they just kept coming. May 28th, the first injury. On the heels of a few games where Caitlin hadn't looked quite as dominant, we got the news. Caitlin Clark was out with a quad strain. It felt foreign, almost unreal. She'd never missed time, not in college, not in the pros. She had taken every hit, every shove, every hard foul, and seemed invincible, until now. Now, this doesn't sound like a top 10 moment. It doesn't sound like something to celebrate. But what happened next was the league's FAFO moment, because it ripped down the paper-thin facade the players, the leadership, and the media had built. The illusion that Caitlin's presence didn't change everything. The second she stepped off the court, the numbers told the truth no one could hide. Ticket prices dropped overnight. TV ratings down 55%. The energy? Gone. It was the most brutal contrast imaginable. Her absence didn't just leave a gap, it exposed the foundation. This was supposed to be the wake-up call. The moment the WNBA finally realized you protect the player who's building your future. Because what happened on the other side of that injury would drive that truth home louder than ever. June 14th, the comeback. The wait was over. Caitlin Clark was back, and she wasn't returning against the bottom-feeding Sky. She was facing the 9-0 New York Liberty, and it turned into the biggest statement game of her career. Clark dropped 32 points, hitting 7 of 10 from deep. But it was one stretch that defined it all. 38 seconds, 3 long bomb threes. A tied game flipped into a 102-88 rout. A peak of 2.8 million viewers tuned in on ABC, making it the third most watched WNBA game ever on the network. This was the moment Caitlin Clark left no doubt. She is the league. It was too perfect to script. Even Liberty coach Sandy Brondello couldn't help but smile, clapping on the sideline as the crowd roared. It was a pure, defining moment for the sport, the kind that grows the game overnight. And, in classic WNBA fashion, the league somehow found a way to ruin it. June 17th, sundown. 3 days later, the Fever faced the Connecticut Sun, a feisty bottom-feeding team that never met a cheap shot they didn't like. And in this game, they took it to another level. Midway through the second quarter, Caitlin Clark took a swipe to the eye from her old college nemesis J.C. Sheldon, then a full-body check from forward Marina Mabrey that sent her crashing to the floor. No ejections, not even a technical, classic WNBA officiating. But this became a top 10 moment because it awoke the beast. Sophie Cunningham, already fed up with weeks of missed calls and blatant targeting, decided she'd had enough. Late in the game, when J.C. Sheldon drove to the basket, Sophie slammed her to the hardwood. Then, when Sheldon stood up, Sophie locked her in a headlock. And that's when fans learned that Sophie Cunningham is a black belt, instant legend status. Her jersey sold out in minutes. Her following exploded by millions. Because finally, someone fought back against the abuse Caitlin had been taking all season. And this moment might end up changing the league more than any highlight ever could. After that game, Sophie launched a podcast where she kept ripping the league and the refs, racking up fines but refusing to back down. She became the loudest voice calling out the WNBA's leadership and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert directly. It was raw, fearless, and long overdue. And maybe, just maybe, as more players and coaches speak out, we'll look back on this as the spark that finally pushed real change and gave fans a reason to give the league one more chance. July 1st, Commissioner's Cup triumph. Not long after that Connecticut Sun fiasco, Caitlin Clark was ruled out again. She'd missed the All-Star game and the Commissioner's Cup final against the Minnesota Lynx. Most fans didn't give the Fever much of a chance. But what happened next gave us the first real glimpse of what this team could become. On July 1st, without their star on the floor, the Indiana Fever shocked the league, taking down the Minnesota Lynx 74-59 to win the Commissioner's Cup. Despite what haters say, this win belongs to Caitlin just as much as anyone else. Because without that 32-point masterclass against the then undefeated Liberty, they never even make this final. Sure, it's an in-season tournament, but with $500,000 in prize money on the line for players who make less than the car wash manager at Buc-ee's, this win mattered. For Caitlin, even watching from the sideline, it was absolutely a top 10 moment, and the spark of something bigger, because this was the start of the fever, proving they could shock the WNBA again and again. A team that would claw within one game of the finals with half its roster in the trainer's room. If you're a Caitlin Clark fan, you have to be excited. Next season, at full health and battle-tested, good luck to the rest of the league. August 25th, rise of the Caitlin Clark empire. While Caitlin wasn't on the court, her brand kept climbing. On August 25th, Nike finally unveiled Caitlin Clark's signature logo. Fans had been waiting, and honestly, wondering what took so long. We all kind of know why. Nike had some things to clear out of the way first. Then, on August 26th, at a fever home game against the Seattle Storm, Caitlin was here shirts blanketed Gainbridge Fieldhouse, a sea of white, a celebration years in the making. This was a moment Caitlin Clark had earned, long overdue, and the beginning of a brand destined to dominate. And it looks like that brand's about to get a global boost, because her next chapter is going international. October 2nd, the announcement. In her October 2nd exit interview, Caitlin gave the answer everyone wanted to hear. She planned to return to competitive play before next season, and she even hinted at when we might see her back on the court.
With respect to your recovery, looking down the line, have you explored opportunities maybe to play 5-on-5 during the offseason as part of kind of that ramp up so that you're ready for next season and have played actual basketball before things start up again in the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always explore every opportunity, and I haven't made any decisions, and I don't know, what that's necessarily going to look like for me. Like I said, there's some USA basketball stuff that is probably my top priority right now that I need to prepare for, and I think that will help me prepare for next season too.
Now, she didn't promise anything, but just 5 days later, it happened. USA Basketball officially announced Caitlin Clark for the 2026 FIBA World Cup qualifier roster. And really, this was a full circle moment. The 2025 season began with Caitlin making international noise, lighting up Brazil in that preseason exhibition at Carver Hawkeye Arena. And now, she's poised to start 2026 the same way, returning on the world stage. Only this time, she won't be representing Iowa or Indiana. She'll be representing her country, and she'll be doing it backed by her global brand. As frustrating as this WNBA season has been, the officiating, the media, the commissioner, everyone knows she'll be back, and we'll all be watching her return. Even after the injuries, the controversy, the chaos, the biggest story in basketball still wears number 22. And that won't change in 2026. If you're still here, drop a W in the comments, because you're a winner for sticking around. Thanks for watching.